Hello.
Hey, Art.
Hey, how are we doing?
I'm doing good.
What are we gonna do about this climate change thing? What are we gonna do, in time to, make a transition to a more positive future for America and the planet? So, we've actually we've asked that big question kind of as a wicked predicament with the first book that we started reviewing, Terry Patton's A New Republic of the Heart. And it was good. I mean, it really talked about using both your head and your heart, but it didn't really get specific about, some of the things some people want to see. Give me some hard figures. Give me some facts. Give me some insights. Has anyone been dealing with this? And so sometimes when you show up and just to do this show, the universe returns with exactly, the next thing that you can cover. And so I found this great book. The internet's a little unstable right here. It's going to start again. Okay, I found this great book called The New Green Deal by Jeremy Rifkin. And so we've been reading this. So Sondra, tell me a little bit about this guy. Who is this guy, Jeremy Rifkin, and what's your insight? You've been starting to read some of the chapters, and I have been too, and it's been amazing. But go ahead and talk about
So,
that.
thanks, Art. It's just a great opportunity to learn more and get a feel about the whole world economy. Jeremy Rifkin, I had a question about him as well. He's an American economic and social theorist. He's a writer, he's a public speaker, he's a political advisor, and he's an activist. So, economic and social theorist. He's written over 20 books. They're on the bestseller list, and they're about the impact of scientific and technological changes on the economy, the workforce, society, and the environment. So it's the entire infrastructure. The books have been translated into more than 35 languages. He's been advising even in China and the EU. There are various studies that he has promoted and that he's been involved with. So while the new Green Deal has become a lightning rod in the political sphere, so to speak, we know that there are parallel movements going on and emerging within the business community that will shake the very foundation of the global economy in the coming years. Mr. Rifkin talks about key factors of the economy that are fast decoupling from fossil fuels, because we know that we're running out of them, in favor of cheaper solar and wind energies. Okay. And
one of the things that I really like, I'm a boomer, you're a boomer, and he's a boomer. And so the perception that you have as boomers as one's laying back ain't what's going on with me or with you or with Rifkin. I'm going like, whoa, this is such a cool thing to have somebody in my generation who's a leader. And
exactly.
I found that book. For 20 years, he's been consulting. And one of the things he said, you're talking about this big issue, but what brings it home, from a logical standpoint, it's about he calls it, his first chapter is called, it's the infrastructure, stupid. Meaning
Right.
that what they discovered in the EU, the European Union, looking at their energy situation and their future, is that if they built out a smart green infrastructure that was using solar, and that was using solar and wind, and it was digitally connected, then many of the problems that we're experiencing right now with not only the economy, but dealing with this climate change that's scaring the heck out of people. That temperature has to be under 3.5 degrees Celsius, or we have cataclysmic climatic crises, you know, in terms of that. And so the good news is not just theoretically, but in actual practice, he's been consulting with EU and Germany in particular, and implementing a green distributed infrastructure that has many, many political implications. It's not a centralized thing. It has to do with building community with people, diverse groups of people across these different regions in 28 different countries. So, I mean, that's pretty amazing. I mean, that infrastructure. So by the learning takeaway of that, he says, you know, what America could use is a new green power grid that hooks up people across the country. So that's one thing. And the other thing was, okay, we're dealing with a whole new industrial revolution, a third industrial revolution. And he talks about the first one being built on coal, right? Coal, and then it made steam and all that. And there was some wind power with windmills in Holland and things like that, but it was mainly coal. And then with the discovery of fossil fuels in terms of oil, that brought in the second industrial revolution. But what we discovered is by burning and using up those fuels that we ended up raising the temperature and creating climatic crises that we're experiencing right here and right now. The water is raising up. We're melting the polar ice caps. People are drowning. We have over $300 billion in damages just in 2018 in terms of fires and floods and hurricanes and all that from a stirred up climate. So things are out of balance, besides us being out of balance, right?
Totally out of balance.
So tell me about, you know, I'll keep this short, but where does he see this? Where does he see this kind of coming from? What has he discovered in terms of the possibilities of money? Did you get to that point yet?
Well, I'm not totally at that point, but I did want to go back and say, you know, not only are some boomers, many boomers thinking about it, but we're seeing the millennial population, the largest voting bloc in the country, leading the challenge on climate change. So, you know, in the grand scheme of things, we're talking about trillions of dollars that are being spent, that have been spent in fossil fuel assets that are now diminishing, and how we need to go to this cheaper, more comprehensive solar and wind energies.
Yeah, in Germany, the business case that they made was, okay, after they did their cost benefit analysis versus do they build more nuclear power plants versus do they invest in a distributed network and do solar and do wind, what they discovered is that there was a tipping point, that if they only had 10% of the people, you know, moving to that, the business model was so good in terms of the return on the investment, it no longer made sense to invest in fossil fuel coal generation plants or nuclear power. They saw Fukushima melt down. They saw Chernobyl, and then they said, okay, let's do this. So even before they ran out of oil, okay, that what they noticed is that the oil was what they call and everything associated with it became a stranded asset. And a stranded asset means it doesn't have any much more value anymore because, you know, a better business case can be made for this other thing. So that's a tipping point that can happen. That's a concrete tipping point. It wasn't just, oh, this is morally wrong. It made economic good sense. He said, you know, he didn't used to think the economy could be ever in our favor as the regular people. He said, but if you look at the unseen hand of the marketplace itself, and plus developing our consciousness to take advantage of this stuff, we can have a whole new power to the people. I love that power to the people.
Power to the people. And not only is that a great thing to think about, but we've got some climate activists supported by some U.S. representatives. So Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Ed Markey, in Massachusetts, they've already talked about it and have a in place now a whole asset base talking about the bold new vision for transforming the infrastructure at the rate that will keep us alive. So thousands, millions, trillions of dollars are being wasted now, and it's collapsing the fossil fuel civilization. So the world won't be as we know it in a few years. And Mr. Rifkin talks about you have about 12 years to make the change.
Right. And to de-invest out of, subsidizing the oil industry and take that money and put it into new things. He also, we'll get into this. I think we need to have another program just to cover the details of this right now. But exactly. People, this is a book worth reading. Okay, if you read, then it'll make you feel better, and it'll give you some idea about what to think about in terms of the kind of future that you want to live, not only for yourself, but I mean, if I look at that, I'm 73 years old. The next 10 years, I'm 83. The next 20 years, I'm 93. I would love to be a part of this legacy of bringing in the whole third industrial revolution, right? As a front runner, and helping my children and my grandchildren have a really decent life because of what we laid down in terms of global communications and learning. We need to raise our consciousness. We need to just become more aware. And we can't depend upon others. We have to really look at these resources. We got this big reach thing called YouTube right now. And we're asking you people to be a part of the conversation. Do you care about surviving? Do you think that you might be able to have a role? We're being told that there are going to be millions of new jobs that are going to be created related to this third industrial revolution. But you've got to have the right framework, and the right ways to look at what those opportunities are. And so hopefully that we can answer some of those questions for you and with you, and have you be part of the conversation. Many of you are actually doing front running work. We need to have you come online so we can interview you. And even if you're doing the inner work with people, if you're a practitioner and you're helping people not be depressed, you're helping people to see that we basically still live in a very abundant universe and that we could flow a lot of good. We can actually do good by what we do. So anyway, we asked you to go ahead and read this book. It's called The New Green Deal by Jeremy Rifkin. And we will talk about the actual, how this is going to be paid for and what his bold economic plan is next time. Right, Sondra? Are we cool behind
Absolutely, that? Art. And I'm excited to go to the next chapter as well and learn more about it and listen well.
We will do this, and it'll be just a wonderful experience. So thank you so much. We will see you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Art. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.